Good evening, good Shabbos and Lashana Tovah. Thank you for joining us. In a moment, Danielle Eisen will lead us in the candle lighting. Perhaps you're lighting at home, perhaps not. But consider what it means for us to begin this grand opening into a brand new year by bringing light into our shared space. And as Danielle says the brachot, perhaps sing along and say Amen, and you and I are joined together with the bringing of light. Danielle Eisen. Amen. Shana Tova to Danielle. And now we begin with the Shalom Aleichem. And to be honest, folks, I'm cheating a little bit because officially, since this is not only Shabbat, but Rosh Hashanah, the service meanders a little bit in the direction of Shabbos, a little bit in the direction of Rosh Hashanah, and back again. And you might say, officially, Shalom Aleichem is not part of the Rosh Hashanah program, but we need to sing together, and it is Shabbos. So with that, please join me. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharetz, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Habachem l'shalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nile Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now in a moment, we welcome our Cantor, Dr. Horowitz, who's been with us before. He's been with us for 2 prior years on the Bima in our shared space where we've all gathered. And now, because we're all making sure that we do our very best to promote health and safety for as many people as possible, the members of our shul are exercising common sense and remaining at home. And Dr. Horowitz is joining us via link. And he's with his family, his wife Karen and their 2 daughters. And it's a delight to have Howard back with us, singing and joining in. And we welcome Howard and we extend our appreciation to Howard for joining us. And of course, Hashanah Tovah to Howard and his family. And Mizmor Shir, the Psalm for Shabbat, on page number 4, if you are able to follow along in the Machzor, in the High Holiday Prayer Book. You, O God, are supreme forever. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies shall perish. Those who commit evil shall crumble. And you will raise my head high. Like the horn of the ox, you will anoint me with fragrant oil. And near the end, Tzadik Katamar Yifrach, the last stanza, Tzadik Katamar Yifrach. Katamar Yifrach, Ke'erez balvanon yisken, Shetulim bebeit Adonai, Bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, Od yenuvun beseva, Tishain verananim yiyu, Lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatabo. As our cantor pauses and prepares for the Baruch Hu in a moment, I ask, you are at home, but please see yourself as being part of a minyan, and we rise. And we are welcoming Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah into our homes through the Baruch Hu, and the response is Baruch, and so on. We rise. It's on page 5 if you have a machzor. Baruch Adonai Amavorach Leolam Vaed. We are seated, the first bracha on the English side. Baruch Adonai, our God, ruler of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. Baruch Hu Shmo. Amen. In a moment, Ahavat Olam, the top of page 6. Ahavat Olam meaning love is as unending and eternal as the universe itself. Love, the intense emotion, is as real as space and all reality. Ahavat Olam. Baruch Hu Shmo. Amen. The Shema on page number 6. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ahavta B'nai Elohecha B'chol lebavcha B'chol nafshecha B'chol yodecha B'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzabecha Hayom alavavecha V'shinantam lebanecha V'dibarta bam V'shitecha b'veitecha V'laktecha v'aderech V'shachbecha v'kumecha V'kshartam liodal yodecha V'zberecha Uktavta mamzo beitecha uvisharecha. Faith is not something that we acquire once and for all. Faith is an insight that must be acquired at every single moment. Those who honestly search, those who yearn and fail, we do not presume to judge. Let them pray to be able to pray. Let them discover within their own heart that faith which they did not know they had. And prior to the Michamocha, the English on page number 8. God performs wonders beyond understanding, marvels beyond all reckoning. God places us among the living, not allowing our steps to falter, and leads us past the false altars of our enemies. God exalted us above all those who hated us, avenged us with miracles before Pharaoh, offered signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. God smote in anger all of Egypt's firstborn, brought Israel from its midst to lasting freedom, led them through the divided water of the sea of reeds. As their pursuing enemies drowned in the depths, God's children beheld the power of the divine. They praised and acknowledged God's name, willingly accepting God's rule. Then Moses and Miriam and the people of Israel joyfully sang this song to you, O God, Michamocha. Michamocha nedar ba'kodesh norati lot osei fele utcha fanecha b'kem Hashem. Hashem, Ze'eli anu b'yamru, Adonai imlo le'olam va'ed, Ne'emar kifadana Yaakov, ukalo miyad chazak menu, Baruch atah Adonai, Al Yisrael. On page 9, in English, Lahashkivenu, we've now passed across the Sea of Reeds. And the physical enemy that is pursuing us is no longer a threat. And in these days, wouldn't it be a grand breath of relief to say that there is no physical enemy pursuing us? And even taking into account that hope, we think about Hashkivenu, which calls out to God to help us, each and every one of us individually, and also those of us thinking of everyone else, to lay down this night, this evening when we go to sleep, in a sense of peace and security. Well, if there's no physical enemy pursuing us from the point of view of having finished the Michamocha a moment ago, why the need for the Hashkivenu? And I would say, because we're not only thinking about ourselves, because even if you and I, halavai, are safe from a physical enemy pursuing us, out there in the world someone else is being pursued. So when we say Hashkivenu, we're thinking about our needs and the needs of others. We join in prayer, the English side, on page 9. Hashkivenu Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully and to waken again to life, our sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us enemies and pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow, and remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. For you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you are the sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and our coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace, and all those beyond this community and on elsewhere into our entire world. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, over Jerusalem and the world. Ufros aleinu. Baruch Shmo. Amen. Our cantor continues with the Vashamru. The Vashamru, the bottom of page number 9. B'nei Yisrael, Uti le'olam, Ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et ha'oretz, Uvayom ha'shivi Shabbat vayinafash. Many people are familiar with the Vashamru because we sing it every Friday night. And by the way, it's also in the Saturday morning Shabbat Amidah. And it means all of y'all need to come together and observe Shabbat. And you might ask, is there a parallel for Rosh Hashanah? I'm glad you asked. Yes, the top of page number 10. It's Tiku B'chodesh Shofar. Tiku comes from the word tekiah. So tiku is a verb from tekiah, which is the noun. And literally means blast a loud sound, reminding us that the month which hosts the holiday of Rosh Hashanah is arriving. The whole month is deserving of an announcement. Tiku B'chodesh Shofar at the top of page number 10. Kesel Yom Chagenu Ki Chok Yisrael Hu Mishpat Lelohei Yaakov. That means, sound the shofar on our feast day on the new moon when it is hidden, for it is Israel's law, a decree of the God of Jacob. And now the Chatzi Kaddish. Amen. Shmei Rabba Barach Le'olam Olomei Olmayai Barach Ishtabach Vitpar Vitrama Vinasei Vitadar Vitale Vitalal Shmei Dikudusha Brichu Uliela in kol bechata b'shirata tushbechata b'nechemata damiran bi. Amen. The Silent Amida comes along now. If you have the prayer book, it's pages 11 to 17. And it may seem strange, if you are in your own home, either with or without a prayer book, to stand along with our being on a screen or through a speaker. It is strange. Just as it is strange for David Smith and me to be here. The Amidah is named such because it calls for us to stand. And when you and I stand up out of our seats, even if we're sitting around the kitchen table or in the family room or the den, we are altering our position, our location. We are changing ourselves, even briefly for just a moment. And maybe that's the first step to opening ourselves in here and in here to a new understanding, to a new context for prayer, to change where we are. The text is before you, unless you have a machzor, unless you don't have a machzor, but now just a thought. With or without a machzor. There's a phrase in this Amidah which begins to recur now, tomorrow and the next day. Uvechein tein kavod. Oh God, grant us your honor. Ask yourself what it means for the prayer book to guide us in asking God to honor us. What does that mean? That the prayer book is confident enough that God will honor us. May we gain a sense of honor, not for the purposes of aggrandizement, but for the purposes of knowing how to live our lives in the right manner. A few moments of silence, please. If so inclined, you may be seated. Our Shliach Tzibur, our Chazan, Howard, will continue in just a moment. Vayachulu Hashamayim is on page number 18. This, of course, reminds us that we're also in Shabbos. The entire creation was paused after God brought forth light and all experience. Vayachulu, the top of page 18. Baruch Hu Shmo. Magen Avot. Avot bidvaro mechayeh meitim b'mamaro el hakadosh shein kamohu Haniach le'amo b'yom Shabbat kodsho, kivam ratzo haniach lahem, lefanav navod birav afachad, b'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid, mon habrachot, el hahodot hadon hashalom, mekadesh hashabbat u'mavreg shvi'i, v'niach b'tusha li'am medushnei oneg, zecher the English, the bottom of page 18. Our God and God of our ancestors, embrace our rest. Make us holy through your mitzvot, and let the Torah be our portion. Fill our lives with your goodness, and gladden us with your triumph. Purify our hearts to serve you faithfully. Adonai our God, grant that we inherit your holy Shabbat lovingly and willingly, so that the people of Israel who sanctify your name may find rest on this day. Baruch atah Adonai, who makes Shabbat holy. The full Kaddish on page number 19. Amen. Amen. Eishmei Rabbo Mavarach, V'olam Lol Me'ol Ma'ol. Brechu. Amen. 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 Recently, I came across a story from a book entitled Weathering the Storm by Dan Clark. Perhaps you've heard of it. The title caught my eye, Weathering the Storm. It speaks loudly to me, not only because we have just traversed a hurricane, we're still in the midst of a global pandemic. There are so many other storms that are buffeting us right now. And so I peeked a little bit more closely. And I found a story which is on my mind and in my heart this evening from this collection of stories by Dan Clark, the collection being entitled Weathering the Storm. The story goes as follows. A young boy was walking along, perhaps 8 or 9 years old, and he saw a sign in the window of a shop, puppies for sale. Now, who as a young boy could resist that? And so he walked in and he asked the shopkeeper about the puppies, and the shopkeeper brought him over to a pen in the store, and he was looking at the puppies and he asked, how much are they? And the shopkeeper said, oh, $30 or $40, haven't quite decided, it depends, we're still working out a few details. And the boy turned and he noticed that one puppy was lagging behind the others. It wasn't quite jumping, it wasn't running, it was moving slowly. And he asked, tell me about that puppy. To which the shopkeeper replied, oh, that puppy was examined by a vet and has a problem with its rear leg. And it will never run, it will never jump like other puppies. It won't grow into the fullness that other dogs will. And the boy said, I want that puppy. Oh, you don't want that puppy. It'll never be able to play with you and won't be like other dogs. You won't enjoy it. Here, look at one of these other puppies. No, I want that puppy. And they went back and forth for a time, and finally the shopkeeper said, oh, all right, I'll just give you the puppy because it's not really fair to charge you for that. And the boy looked him in the eye, and he said, are you saying that that puppy has less value than the other puppies? Well, you won't be able to run and jump and won't grow into a full dog. Let me just give it to you. And the boy reached into his pocket and pulled out the $2.37 that he had been saving. And he said to the shopkeeper, I'm going to give you this money, and I'm going to bring a quarter in every single week until I pay off $30. Because that puppy has as much value as everyone else. But you won't be able to run and play with it. And then the boy reached down and pulled up his pant leg, revealing to the shopkeeper a brace, and frankly, a leg that seemed to be somewhat mangled. And he said, I'll understand this puppy, and it will understand me. This is our year to learn and to grow and to understand what it means when things are broken, when people are hurting, when people and animals are injured. This is our year. And we are granted the sacred, the holy, the kadosh opportunity to bring Rosh Hashanah in with love and kindness and openness and compassion and the fullness that only comes from a broken heart. And everyone that's attached to our community in so many different ways is granted this beloved sacred mitzvah, the touch of God's holiness, to transform this year, beginning now. And we shall overcome these current impediments, but we will grow forward, and we shall go forward together because we are a shul. We are a community of love and of caring. And may each and every one of you know how absolutely cherished you are in the eyes of God and from my heart as well. This is a sacred night, and we have much to be thankful for. And if you have a glass of wine at the ready and in a moment a piece of bread, perhaps with honey, you and I have the chance, via these connections that we're making, to bring sweetness and holiness in those same tastes together. A glass of wine in just a moment, the Kiddush in just a moment with our Cantor. Kiddush. Shabbat hazeh, Yom HaZikaron hazeh, Yom Tuvah Mikol Kodesh, Zecher L'Yetziat Mitzrayim, Ivanu v'charta, Tanu Kidashta, Mikol Ha'amim, v'chayemet v'kayam lad. Hashabbat Yisrael, Hazikaron. Shechianu. Shechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu, lasman hazeh. And you have a piece of bread, perhaps a bit of honey, if you'd so like to put a bit of honey on your bread, indicating, of course, their desire for a sweet new year. Hamotzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Now remaining standing, the Aleinu on page number 25. Aleinu. Shamayim b'yosei haaretz, Moshav yekaro b'shamayim ima'am, Shechinatu zo, Gavei meromi, Hu Eloheinu, Eretz mokeh, V'vezulato, Chagatu b'torato, Data hayom v'yadata, V'ashivota, El levavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim ima'am. Nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz yom hahu b'yom ha'echad u'shema echad echad. We are seated. In a moment, the Mourner's Kaddish on page number 26. And if you are Kaddish, our shul remembers these Yortzites at this time of year: Betsy Friedlander, Kayla Leah Grotsky Yablonsky, Abe Sussman, Marilyn Schwartz, Tina D. Solomon, Joe Kramer, Holden Kramer, Roger Bloom, Minnie A. Miller, Leon Harold Mishkin, Julius Bloom, Ann Wiedenbaum, Abraham Miller, Max Greenberg, Lottie Voigt, Eileen Sherman, James Ward, and we remember Murray Gollum and Lillian Rudnick. If you know of someone who has recently died, or you're marking the anniversary within your own life, please mention that person's name at this time aloud in your own home. Our hearts turn to those whose lives have been taken from all of us terrifyingly in the recent storm, and also in those horrible consuming wildfires in the West and elsewhere. And when we say Kaddish, the word in Aramaic means holy. We're declaring that life is holy. And memory is a deep and personal, emotional way of holding on to the holiness of life. Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabo. Amen. Be'olma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chaye chon u'v'yome chon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'miru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Milvarach La'alam Olalmei Olmaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shmei Dekudisha Brichu La'ela La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. We open our hearts to those who are grieving, those who are mourning. And we share the sorrow. And we also share our hope and our love. There's a psalm specifically associated with this season of the year. It's Psalm number 27, it's called in Hebrew, LeDavid, Adonai Ori, God is my light and God is my help. And a few English stanzas call out to me at this time. If you have the Machzor, it's on page 27, the first 3 or 4 short stanzas. Adonai is my light and my help. Whom shall I fear? Because God is my light and my help. Adonai is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I dread? When evil people assail me to devour my flesh, it is they, my enemies, and those who besiege me, who stumble, they fall. Should an armed camp be arrayed against me, my heart would show no fear. Should they war against me, of this I would be sure. One thing I ask of Adonai, this I seek, to dwell in the house of God all the days of my life, to behold God's beauty and visit in God's sanctuary. Visiting in God's sanctuary. A first step is caring enough for you in all your different areas, all your different locales, in all your different circumstances during and out of a hurricane, to join in with us this evening. And each one of you, wherever you are and however you are, that you've taken time to dedicate this little chunk of time to being part of the sacred Jewish people, the sacred holy community, starting with our shul and beyond. You're entering God's sanctuary. It's not a place. It's a perspective and it's a condition, a spiritual condition. You've heard the melody before, a simple melody. Achad shalti meit Adonai ota avakesh. Achad shalti meit Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei chayai. Lachazot b'noam Adonai, lavaker b'hechalo. Lachazot b'noam Adonai, lavaker b'hechalo. One thing, just to be close. We are nearly concluding a few announcements. What would a service be without some announcements? Reminders, of course, tomorrow, which is Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah, and the next day, Sunday. Services here on YouTube are also on the same live stream screen of the synagogue website from 10 to noon. If you do have the opportunity to prepare for wine and a piece of bread for Kiddush and Hamotzi tomorrow morning and Sunday morning, we'd love to have you join in. If not, well, that's one thing that we haven't yet quite managed to figure out, how to get through the camera into you, into your mouths. But hopefully you can join in for wine and hamotzi, wine, bread, and honey. And Sunday, we're doing something a little bit different because the whole world is different right now. We're going to incorporate Tashlich into the second day's service at the end of the service. And I'll be explaining that more. So again, you'll have a piece of bread and you'll break off a few crumbs from that piece of bread for hamotzi, perhaps into a glass of water. I'll explain that on Sunday near the end of the service. We'll be doing some music on Sunday as well because of Tashlich. Next Friday night, a week from tonight, is Guitar Shabbat. We're excited to have Yehuda joining in with us as we approach Yom Kippur. And one final note. This year, because of COVID, we're not building a sukkah. We can't gather people together to build a sukkah, which is one of my favorite experiences. I think one of the greatest mitzvahs there are. Because nobody else builds a sukkah. Only Jews build a sukkah. Only Jews take the time to build a little hut and to sit outside, to come close to God, and to experience nature. We've been doing it since the time of Moses and Joshua 3,300 years ago. So the substitute this year is a lulav and etrog. This is my lulav from last year. A lulav and etrog costs $40. Please bring these 4 trees, lulav and etrog, into your lives this year, this Sukkot. We have some people who've already responded to my email, and we need to put in the order immediately the day after Rosh Hashanah. So join me. Bring 4 trees of hope from Israel into your lives, into our community, because we won't have a sukkah this year. And if you wish to have a lulav, and you can't quite afford the 40, contact me. We'll make arrangements. But I do need to know if you want a lulav, if you want to take hold of these trees that have helped guide the people of Israel since the time of Moses and Joshua. And now we'll conclude with Yigdal in just a moment, but an announcement before the Yigdal begins, before the Chazan begins our Yigdal. This is the only night of the year that we sing this melody. It's supposed to be a melody of grandeur and of introspection to lead us into tomorrow morning's service welcoming Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah. So it may be unfamiliar because you only hear it once a year. Just pause and give it a chance. The Yidal, thank you, Cantor Howard, on page number 28. Yigdal Olam Chai v'yishtabach nimtza v'yenet el metziuto echad v'yen yachid k'yichudo ne'elam v'gam en sof la'achduto en lo demut haguf v'yen haguf lo naroch elav kedushato kadmol l'chol davar asher nivra rishon ben reshit l'reshito hino adon olam b'chol notzar yoreg udulato malchuto shefa nevuato nitano el anshe sigulato v'tif arto Lo kam Yisrael kmo sheod navi umabit et tmunato Torah temenotan leyamoel al yad nevio neman betu Lo ya Khalifael velo yamirato liolamim lezulato Tzofer yodea sitarenu mabi lesof davar bekad matu Gomel ish chesed k'mifalo, noten l'rosh hara karishato, yishlach l'ket yamin mashiachenu, lifdod machakiketz yeshuato, meitim yachael berov chasto, baruch adei Hashem tilato, meitim yachael berov chasto, baruch adei Hashem tilato. Yai dai da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai. Yai dai 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 da dai 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 da 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 dai. Yai dai da 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 dai. Yai dai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai da da dai. Yai dai dai dai. From my heart to yours and all of your loved ones, may this year be sweeter than these past months have been. May you be protected with a sense of love that transcends all limits. May you know that you matter to God, the universe, to me, and to all of us. May shalom come forth, and most importantly, may you and your loved ones, your family and your friends, be inscribed and sealed in the book of life and good health and peace for this year and many years thereafter. Good Shabbos, L'Shana Tovah,